told last year, it would have required states and local governments to pay a larger share of the costs of infrastructure, 80% to be exact. However, states and local governments are already financing infrastructure projects at higher levels than the federal government. And let's face it, if the locals had 80% of the funds, they would already be doing a lot more. As a matter of fact, when I served in local government in Santa Barbara County, county residents voted in support for renewing a self-help tax in order to finance larger regional infrastructure projects. So I have a couple questions. One, how can the federal government be a better partner for local governments to bring our infrastructure to a state of good repair? And two, what are the pros and cons for local governments to have access to different financing tools, such as the infrastructure bank or an infrastructure corporation?
Well, I'd like to comment first, observe, Congressman, your observation that's really important. While state and local governments, I think particularly in our home state of California, have stepped up with a greater share of investment, it was never to replace the federal dollar, it was to augment the federal dollar. In a continuing partnership, at no point have we ever, in stepping forward, not recognized that our federal investment needs to remain robust. And so I think, you know, your observations there of partnership are so critical, and I think that theme needs to carry forward in whatever discussions we have associated with reauthorization. With respect to financing, I think we generally, given the complexity of the problems we have, maybe one overarching view is that the more tools we have, the more we are going to be able to apply them to whatever problems may arise, again, avoiding that one-fits-all scenario. Financing is incredibly important to deliver our projects faster and, you know, allow for improvements to get to the public more quickly. But financing is not funding. There always needs to be a revenue stream that's underlying whatever financing we do. And so I think that is a key reminder as we talk about the value of those tools we would like to see in place.
So a public infrastructure bank would be a good tool to have nonetheless.
I think any amount of tools available to us was something we should explore. More tools are better than fewer.
Thank you so much. Mayor Nirenberg, thank you for your service in local government, and thank you for being here on behalf of the National League of Cities. We all know that congestion is a huge issue for commuters, an issue also experienced in my district. It takes a toll also on our economy. Our committee's website under Chairman DeFazio's leadership estimates that congestion has cost our economy over $342 billion since 2017. What are some of the ways that we can leverage different modes of transportation, such as regional rail, to minimize congestion?
Well, thank you very much for the question. I think you're absolutely right. We need to provide people options. Not everyone would choose to get behind a single occupancy vehicle if they had other choices, which is why in San Antonio we are working on a comprehensive multimodal strategy that allows people options from the first mile to the last mile and everything in between. Many people will choose to continue to drive their own vehicle, but we need to make sure that we have a fully funded public transportation system that for people who don't have the choice have now an option to get to and from work, get to and from school. And then from a regional standpoint, providing you know, ways to move around what is now the fastest growing corridor in the country and probably the spark of Texas economy right now, which is the I-35 corridor, and largely the Texas Triangle, which will be home to about 40 million people by 2050. So the bottom line for us is we need to provide options, we need them to be multimodal, and that requires a broad partnership with the federal government, the state government, and local government to provide diverse revenue streams and really as many tools as possible to fund them.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Chair, I yield back.